Welcome to episode 85 of Instant Expertise Marketing. With so much AI chatter and hyperbole filling our spaces, we thought that it was time to share some instant expertise on how you should be using generative AI in your marketing efforts. I'm Yvette Brown, co-founder of X Promos. I became an entrepreneur at 23 by starting a promotions agency with my then 29-year-old business partner, Sherry Nomadi.
So I'm Sherry Nomadi, the older one, the wiser one. Not
That's
really.
right.
You guys know by now, Yvette and I approach business from opposite ends of the spectrum, and yet we do come to the same conclusions on how we help our clients succeed. Today, we're going to once again talk about what's happening in generative AI.
And Sherry, to be honest, every week it seems like there is a new announcement about some accelerated iteration of AI. It could be, oh, ChatGPT 5 is coming early. Sora's got this amazing text to video capabilities, or even Google's Gemini 1.5 has these amazing capabilities.
Yep, that's right. And like all new shiny objects, we know it's really easy to get caught up in the latest hype video and the press releases. We get it. And don't get me wrong, many of these iterations are really significant and they're meaningful. But if you're still on the sidelines and not upskilling with AI, then the versioning really won't matter. It's
Exactly.
very easy to get distracted, and we are staying focused on using generative AI to solve real problems for our own business and for our clients every single day.
Yeah, and plus one on the easy to get distracted. That's like kind of my middle name, and my word for the year is actually focus. So it's really important, and it's so easy to get caught up in the weeds and sort of miss the big picture. And so our goal today is really to help you see the value in AI, and that's even if you've tried it and failed. Right. And the reason why is we want you to be able to comfortably jump back in and start using it to your competitive advantage. So, big question for today, where are we going to start?
Well, I think the best place to start is by focusing, there's Yvette's word,
Yes.
on your own area of control. Because AI, it's super powerful and it can help with so many things, but only if you know what you want and you're really clear about what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where Liz Danvers comes in. And if you've been watching True Detective Night Country, you will be familiar with Jodie Foster playing Detective Danvers.
Mhm.
And in that, if you've watched any episodes, you will quickly realize that her catchphrase is, "You're not asking the right question." And that, my friends, is at the core of generative AI.
So AI, it's going to perform best when you ask really clear and concise questions. Think of your AI model as a book smart marketing intern, but has no practical experience whatsoever. You need to give it a solid brief with context and precise instructions for delivery if you want a quality response.
Yep, exactly, Sherry. And like any intern, you can ask it for help on virtually anything. And that can be from storming lead magnet ideas to generating YouTube video headlines.
So the bottom line is the better the input, the greater the output. Or, as us agency people say on a regular basis, garbage in, garbage out. I mean, it's kind of like, how many of you have done a Google search and went, well, that's not what I was looking for. And you have to keep refining it to get what you're looking for, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. So, with no further ado, let's get down to business. What we've got for you today are 10 keys to get going on AI now. Like, I mean, get going as soon as you finish today. So, grab your notebook and get ready because here we go.
All right. Number one, do not overthink your AI tool of choice. There's new ones out every day, and existing models are constantly evolving. So pick one, jump in, get started. Most of them have a pretty low barrier to entry, so you can always change that later if you want. And don't let that analysis paralysis stop you from starting.
Absolutely. As we always say, Sherry, version 1 is always better than version none.
Yep.
Okay, so tip number 2. You need experienced people to prompt AI. And the reason why is because you need their expertise to ask meaningful questions to get useful outputs. Remember, like Sherry said and Liz Danvers said, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not asking the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers.
And that brings us to number 3, which is think of AI as an accelerator. It's not a replacement. I mean, not yet. And when ChatGPT dropped, many of the SaaS founders mistakenly believed that their content generation problems were totally over. But what they learned really quickly was that without proper guidance, the results are really low quality and generic content. How many of you have read something and said, there is no way someone really wrote this? That
Yeah.
was garbage in and garbage out.
Yep.
But however, in the hands of a very skilled marketer with AI and content experience, then generative AI, it can absolutely accelerate many parts of the content delivery process. That's everything from summarizing content and assets for social media to even brainstorming compelling hooks for each of your posts.
Yeah, it's the what it can do is really kind of amazing and limited by your imagination and expertise.
Yeah.
So, moving on to number 4, tip number 4 is that generative AI can help you solve your biggest challenges and it can accelerate your time sucks. It can save you time. But you first need to focus on your problem or challenge before calling on AI to help, right? This is how you stay focused on tasks that move the needle forward in your business. For example, and I love this example, AI can actually shorten the time that it takes for an SDR to create a custom email to a new prospect.
Yep. And number 5, prompting, it's a learned skill. Don't believe the hype. There's really no perfect prompts that you can just go out there and swipe. While they might help you get started, most of them really lack the things that we are talking about, which is clarity and details, and most important of all, your own unique point of view. So we like to say, and it's very true, prompts are no more cookie cutter than a marketing campaign.
Yep. And I love that's a beautiful example, Sherry. And this takes us to number 6. Number 6 is kind of a big one, so hold on. But to Sherry's point, building a great prompt is like writing the perfect creative brief, right?
Mhm.
And we
Yeah.
all know how
Yep.
often we have moved forward with a less than perfect creative brief. So we know that's practically a unicorn is to get a perfect one. But remember, you're dealing with not a human, you're dealing with a machine. And so if you really want to get really good outputs, you have to put in really good inputs, right? And so to help you get
Yep.
your head around that, we actually compiled a list of 6 critical points that you need to address in your prompt. Okay, these are super important. Get ready. Number 1, give context on who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, this alone can be a really long input because who you are is not just I'm an SDR trying to do this. You need to explain the backstory of who your company is, what you stand for, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a different topic for another day, but that's what we mean by giving context. Number 2, you need to identify the audience you're trying to reach, right? If you don't tell them who you're trying to reach, they're not going to give an output that makes sense related to that. Number 3, make sure that you are asking something clear, and concise, right? Be really clear and concise in your ask. What do you want from the AI? Number 4, clarify the tone and style that you want in your response. Okay, we're going to come back to this in a little bit, but tone and style is something you can absolutely ask it for. And this is kind of how you start getting past those crummy AI generated content that we have seen out there. Number 5, push the AI to use that big LLM brain it has to explore a topic in a new way beyond the obvious. Don't just ask it for something dumb that I mean, if you need really quickly to know who won Super Bowl, 28, go ahead and ask it. It's going to be faster than getting it anywhere else. But if you really want to get something interesting, push the boundaries of what it might be able to put forward for you. And then number 6, be very clear on your output, okay? ChatGPT, for instance, can create tables. It can also provide formatting on your output with headers and bullets or numbers or kind of whatever you want. It can also output things at a certain length, like you can ask for a 100-word summary, or you can ask for a 100-character pretext header, kind of whatever you need. But, kind of a key point about this, and this is where the human part comes back in, you have to be really clear about what you want. And to be honest, it's not only like that marketing intern, but it reminds me a little bit of my teenager, right? You might have to ask it more than once what you want if it doesn't give you what you're looking for the first time around, right?
Right.
It doesn't always get it right the first time, and I'm just going to leave that there.
Well, speaking of time, Yvette, key number 7 is to realize that AI prompting is evolving. Just like generative AI, it gets better over time. And so will your prompts, which is why we want you to jump in right now.
Yeah.
Your first prompt is probably not going to be that great. Your response to AI at that point can be like an intern. You've probably said this yourself. Hey, can you relook at this and then add that? And that's when you kind of realize you should have really included something else in your prompt for the clarity. And AI may then give you what you want, but you have to edit the original prompt if you plan to optimize the process with these evolving prompts.
Yeah, and that's such a great point, Sherry. And I know I'm very guilty of this, is that I'll get into a conversation with ChatGPT, who I like to call Chat or Chet, depending on the day. And it'll give, be a nice start for something, but I'll say, can you give me a little more like this? And then it'll do it. And, after a little bit of a conversation, we might get to where we want, which is all great. But if I want to scale and repeat that, I'm going to have to go back and put all of that into my original prompt if I want to get it closer to being right the first time. So moving on to point number 8, I think that's where we're at, is if you really want to see what AI can do, you need to ask it more challenging questions. We actually like to play around with different styles and frameworks. So for instance, you can ask it to create a Facebook post about whatever topic you're writing about or featuring in the same way that David Ogilvy might say it. Or we might ask it to create an email series using the Pain, Agitate, Solution, otherwise known as PAS framework. Okay, so again, and it will do that, and it's kind of fun to do, to sort of mash up some of these known approaches. But remember, and this is really critical, AI is book smart, but it needs you as its instructional guide. So, like, let's say, for instance, your all-time favorite, marketing campaign was when Coca-Cola did the Share a Coke campaign, and you just thought that was really awesome, but you're a fintech software program. You can actually ask your AI, hey, what made this campaign so great, and how could I adapt that for my product, which is this, with some explanation? And it's going to crank out a response. And are you going to run that campaign exactly as it is? Probably not, but there might be some pieces in there where you go, dang, you know what? I think we could make that work, and nobody else is doing it like in our marketplace, and boom, there you go. That's your
Mhm.
free idea for the day.
You always like to toss in one or two of them.
That's right. Yeah.
I think we're on number 9 now, and that is ask for more than what you really need. So let's say you need 3 headlines for your social posts. Ask for 5 or 6 because you're not going to love them all.
Nope.
And then you'll have this broader range that you can choose and get your 3. And this is the human touch that AI needs. It can accelerate your creative output, but it's never going to replace your creative team.
Not yet, at least. Not for a while. And, to that point, Sherry, we've actually run, as you know, some internal tests with AI enabled summary posts.
Mhm.
And, we were skeptical just like everyone else. And we actually discovered that in some cases it outperformed some of our non AI summary posts in terms of organic reach. And, to that extent, we went, okay, that's pretty impressive. And so we're, gently moving ahead and trying to give it a little more opportunity to do that, just to help, not with the thought leadership per se, but with some of that outreach to, help get a little bit more organic traction.
Yep. And that brings us to the last tip of the day. That's number 10. Let your AI prompts evolve and grow.
Mhm.
This is your opportunity to build and grow a library of internal prompts where you can let your team edit, iterate, and experiment.
Yeah.
And then you can start testing the efficacy of AI against your own internal metrics and see where you stand.
Yeah, and this is really kind of where, organizations that are moving forward are at. It's pilot testing. And you can think about a pilot test in any number of ways. You might want to find out how much quicker your team can create and distribute certain types of content. You might want to see how much faster your SDRs can connect with prospects, or are they connecting at a greater, more meaningful rate once they've had AI help them with those connecting messagings. We also think that AI is pretty amazing when it relates to segmented ABM messages, because it gives you an opportunity to take your own messaging, and you can ask AI, like, how is this going to apply to this kind of persona in this kind of business vertical? There's some pretty cool things. You can also even look at how much better does your campaign actually perform when you have optimized with AI versioning. You can create versions a lot faster than by hand that are meaningful versions. And really, ideally, what you want is for your marketing team to be able to take that time spent, I mean, time saved. Let's just look at that. The goal here is to be able to give people back more time so they can focus it on bigger brain activities where they can more thoughtfully think about marketing strategies, and let the AI accelerate some of the tactics and give you some fresh approaches, and maybe just do some of the heavy lifting. That's kind of what we're looking for.
And that, guys, brings us to the end of today's episode. So before you lose any momentum, because I know like you guys are just dying to get out there and do it, jump on ChatGPT or any other AI tool of your choice and start creating prompts that will solve problems. You're not going to regret working on this and improving this skill of yours, which, trust us, will come in handy.
Yeah, this is absolutely the future, and the future is here. And, to that point, if you'd like some more guidance on AI enablement to help solve your marketing challenges, of course, reach out to us at xpromos.com.
Until next time, thanks for tuning in today. And don't forget, like and subscribe.